Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Craig Flint, and we are getting ready to conclude another season of Weather Academy. Now, we're gonna call this segment of the Weather Academy is "You Weather People Are Never Right, Ever." Well, or there's this one, "I wish I could be wrong half the time and still get paid." Listen, we hear it all the time as meteorologists. Pro tip. Just between you and me, maybe it's time to come up with something else. That joke is getting a little tired. All right, I'll get off my high horse now. Because here's the deal. There's a big difference between how well we do with our forecasts as meteorologists versus how well people think our forecasts do. So I want to try and clear up some confusion here. First of all, going back to that, I wish I could have your job and be right half the time and still get paid. We do actually get it right way more than half the time. And I'm not just saying that. There have been studies done on this by the National Weather Service and other entities. And studies show that meteorologists can get a forecast high temperature right within 2.5 degrees. That's pretty good. Now, when it comes to forecasting precipitation, it's a bit more complicated. But a 24-hour forecast for precipitation versus no precipitation, studies have shown that to actually be correct 82% of the time. Now, are these numbers perfect? No. There's no such thing as a perfect forecast. But you know what? I'll take those numbers. They're still pretty good for predicting the future. Now, I know it seems like I'm just sitting up here patting myself on the back, but I want you to conceptualize this a little bit. So think about March Madness and you filling out your bracket for the tournament. How often do you nail that March Madness bracket perfectly? Probably not much, right? Now, I know I've been doing a lot of blustery talking here. There actually is, like we do like to do on the Weather Academy, is there's some science behind this. We like to relate the science to it. So forecasting weather is both science and an art form. But I'll tell you what makes a good meteorologist. What makes a good meteorologist is to know when to walk away from the computer models. And remember, there is no such thing as the perfect forecast, and there are a couple of reasons why. Number one is something that we call the chaos theory. And number two is, well, there's just simply not enough computer power. Now, I'm not going to delve into chaos theory too much because that is like really complicated stuff. All right? I'm just going to kind of give you the Reader's Digest version. So, chaos theory, in short, says that any little minute change in what is happening right now could have big impacts in the future. Well, what's weather forecasting? Predicting the future. It's all about looking ahead. That's what a forecast is. But we have to start somewhere. So we always start with what's happening right now. And we look at things like temperature, barometric pressure, and wind speeds. Well, what happens is all of those variables, different weather variables, are put into these supercomputers, and then it calculates an equation. And this equation is something that we call a primitive equation. And I said I wasn't going to delve too much into this, but I want to give you an example of what a primitive equation looks like. Check this out behind me, and if you want to punch it up full, you can. That is what a primitive equation looks like. I'm just going to give you a minute to look at that. It's crazy, right? Insane. I can't even do that math, okay? And thankfully, we as meteorologists, we don't have to do that math, but the computer models do. And that brings me to the second problem that we have. I mentioned there's just not enough computer power. See, we use several different computer models to formulate our forecasts, but you've probably heard us mention the American GFS model or the European model. Those are kind of the two biggies, right? But I want to focus on the American model, the GFS model, for example. The GFS model can do 8 quadrillion calculations per second. Per second. That is an 8 with 12 zeros after it, okay? The GFS American model also relies on something that we call grid points. And there are grid points all across the globe. And these grid points are spaced about 13 kilometers apart. And the model needs at least 4 of those grid points to sense or see a weather feature. To kind of make it easy for you to understand, if a weather feature is smaller than 30 miles, forget about it, okay? Well, guess what? We live in northwestern Pennsylvania, so we have to deal with lake effect snow, for example. That's a big part of the forecast here in northwestern Pennsylvania. It's very difficult for these computer models to pick up on lake effect snow. It is one of the most difficult types of weather that we have to forecast for in this part of the world. And to do that, we have to look at weather models that are slightly higher in resolution, where the grid points are closer together, meaning the computer model is extra sensitive. And luckily, we have a couple of different computer models that are extra sensitive right here in the forecast center. But there's also a catch with those extra sensitive computer models. They can only predict out to 48 hours. It would take way more computer power to extend beyond 48 hours, but the smaller the grid, the better the resolution. So above all of that, it's important for us, like I mentioned at the top here of the show, it's important for us to know as meteorologists when to walk away from the computer models and use what we've learned over experience when it comes to forecasting weather here in northwestern Pennsylvania. And remember, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this little talk that we're having, there's no such thing as a perfect forecast, but we try as hard as we can to be as accurate as we can. And believe me, when we miss a forecast, or when the forecast is a bust or it's wrong, nobody feels it worse than yours truly, than the meteorologist, okay? But look, I know a lot of people rely on weather. Weather is money. You have plans this summer. Weather's important. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of some of the challenges we have to face as meteorologists. The chaos theory, not enough computer power. So next time you see myself or Tom DeVecchio or Tom Atkins out in public and you say, well, I wish I could be right half the time and still get paid. Well, we are right more than half the time. Now, I'm not saying we're perfect, okay? Like I said, no such thing as a perfect forecast. So a couple of other quick notes, some housekeeping notes here on the Weather Academy before we wrap it up for the year. Look, I know summer is here. You'll want to just remember to keep an eye on the weather. We're here 24/7. And on the website as well, we update the forecast multiple times a day. You can find that at yourerie.com. A click there under the weather tab. And also, I don't want to forget, your Smarty Pants phone either. Got a great mobile app. It's called yourerie.com. You could go to the App Store or Google Play and find it for free, and we've got all kinds of updated weather information there. And as you are out and about this summer, enjoying our favorite yellow star that we call the sunshine, keep in mind the sun is powerful. So make sure you lather on the sunscreen SPF 35 or higher to protect your epidermis. That is it for the Weather Academy. I hope we kind of cleared up some confusion there. Listen, have a great summer. Thanks for being here. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint for the Weather Academy on yourerie.com. Take care. Have a safe and great summer.